G'day punters and welcome back here. We're going to do a little futures profiling of I guess you could say they are the three biggest races of the Spring Carnival coming up this year. Of course, we're going to touch on the Melbourne Cup, the Cox Plate and the mighty Tab Everest coming up later on in the spring. We're going to try and find horses who fit the profile of previous winners. We're going to look back through the last 5 or so years of what horses have won and what horses we can find in this market to fit the mould. We have another tipster in the building, I can see. Michael Gannon's the young one coming in to steer us into a few winners.
Absolutely. She reckons the nature strips are dead set moral again.
Say no more. All right, Dino, I'm going to come to you first for the Melbourne Cup. Tell us the profile of what horse wins and then find that for us.
Yeah, Louis, it's an interesting race. There's stacks of different little stats that people love to follow. There's a sugar file that gets around every year. We've probably seen the last 2 years, a very elegant one last year and the year before that, Twilight Payment. There've probably been 2 horses that have just been out of the box, haven't matched any profile or anything. But today, the profile I want to look at is that Northern Hemisphere, 3-year-old and 4-year-old setup for the limited numbers in the Cup. It's got an outstanding record. 2017, we saw Rekindling win. 2018, Cross Counter won. 5th that year was Rostropovic. 2019, Il Paradiso, who ran 3rd, but arguably could have won. And 2020, Tiger Moth. So it's an outstanding profile for the limited numbers, like I mentioned. The horses that I want to concentrate on are those. We saw some interesting purchases in the media over the last couple of days. Loft, Camaro, Hu Yao Mao. But the horse I wanted to concentrate on is New London, a Godolphin horse, comes out of the Gordon Stakes over 2,400. Won that impressively, beat Hu Yao Mao, who was purchased by Waterhouse and Bott. Has that 3-year-old, 4-year-old profile, and there's big raps on this horse. He's touted to coming. I'm pretty sure he is coming, and if that horse does come, he's got to be a massive chance. A couple others I'll mention, Camaro, who's just been purchased by Best Bloodstock and goes to the Hayes camp. I think the Hayes boys are in for a massive, massive spring. They've got the best setup in the game for mine, the farm down there in Melbourne. They also got the purchase of Loft. So I think they're right in this. And there's one more race, Louis, that does produce a fair amount of winners, and that's the St. Ledger for the 3-year-olds, the Classic. It's run in September, so we'll be waiting for the winner or the runners up of that. And we've seen Rekindling and a couple others come through that race. So definitely this year, I'll be concentrating on that 3-year-old, 4-year-old Northern Hemisphere profile. They get in so well, the weights, and that's the profile for me. So it's a little recap of the Melbourne Cup. And I'm sure punters can chime in on the futures markets out there. But early for me, New London's on top.
Perfect. I'll chime in here with the Cox Plate for 2022. Just kind of looking at the profile there. It's a funny one. So the past 3 years, all horses that have won it have been first up, State of Rest, Sir Dragonet and Liz Grousseau. So that obviously makes it a little tricky unless you're really diving into the international form and seeing who can come over. And then, of course, the 3 previous years were all won by Winx. So unless you're following a Winx campaign, then there's not a whole lot of real information to find in terms of being able to profile the winner. Just in terms of how Winx did it, it was her last run before the Cox Plate was always in the Turnbull, apart from back in 2016 when she went to the Caulfield Stakes. Other runs include the George Main, the Chelmsford, the Warwick, which I think is now the Winx Stakes. So you can kind of look through all of them to try and get a guide of who's going there, and obviously reading the media and whatever and finding out who's aiming their horses, because trainers are obviously very open about, this horse is going to the Cox Plate, yada, yada, yada. My tip here, without being able to follow a genuine profile, it's Animo. It's last year's winner, fellas. Come on. And don't tell me that it wasn't the winner, because it was. That will go down as just one of the great
debacle.
What's doing here of all time. Now a 4-year-old, I can't see any reason why it would be going backwards. Even if it's just stayed the same, that's good enough. I think it has to even go forwards now with maturity on its side. It's trialling really well. And without knowing exact plans, I would struggle to see why Godolphin wouldn't go back there and try and make amends for last year and win it. So $8 Animo in the Tab futures market for the Cox Plate. That will do me just fine at this stage with a hard race to profile. Gannon?
Boys, I'm touching on the Everest here. Here's a couple of data points for you. So, of the 5 Everest winners as well, 3 of them have run in the race prior. Obviously, Redzel couldn't have run in prior with its first one. So they've run in the year prior and they've gone on to win. So Redzel, Classique Legend, and Nature Strip. How's that one for you?
A 3 out of 4.
So the old, you've got to be lose one to win one, in essence, is sort of coming through there, like the rugby league grand final theory. The old Manly needed to win one to lose one. Garbage, please give it a rest, Desi. Yeah, massive Gus. Yes, the only 3-year-old, and did come through the slipper to win. And I'll tell you what, now we're going to talk about what we've got here. So the Fireburn, Dino suggested to me probably won't be going there. I was having a light preparation, but Louis also chimed in with a comment there that the fillies have had an absolute awful, 3-year-old fillies, awful record there. There would have been a runner there that didn't stack up. So here we are. We're going to put a pen through the 3-year-old fillies. So Fireburn gone. The 3-year-olds for mine just aren't up to it this year, period. Have to lose one to win one. You boys know that I'm super keen on Nature Strip. But if you have to lose one to win one, there's only one runner. I'll let you boys go on, Louis. Who is it?
Eduardo.
There he is. Lost and running. He just can't be up there, Louis. Lost and running, boys.
No, it's only in for the tab slot. Gee whiz.
I got it wrong. Lost and running. Is Eduardo with tab?
No, lost and running.
Oh, yeah, no, they nailed it. Well done, Munsey. You've done something very, very well above your pay grade. So that's super stuff. He's come on there. You might even ride it. But Lost and Running for mine is the horse that ticks all the boxes there. And if anything's going to beat Nature Strip, it will be Lost and Running. There you go, boys. Around the $8, I think. What are your thoughts on that?
So the punters have got a all-in play for the Melbourne Cup, the Cox Plate and the Everest, and a few stats to help them on their own search for a horse if they don't like what we're tipping up, which would hardly surprise me. But, well done there, fellas. Too good.